Hi, and welcome to this lesson on browsing and searching using databases. Today we'll be trying to find a specific topic for your history project and then finding resources for that topic. So far, you have been assigned to do a project about the U.S. during World War II. Your teacher is leaving it up to you about what subtopic or specific aspect you would like to research. So, we will start by browsing and determining a specific topic, and then searching to find resources we can use. I will be demonstrating these processes on two databases, Destiny and Academic Search Complete. First, let's talk about databases. Databases are sets of files of information. These files contain records, which is just a bunch of fields for an information source. For example, the fields contain specific information about a resource, like a book or an article. Examples of fields would be an author, title, subject, that kind of information. Records then organize these fields and create relationships between them. So all the books by one author are grouped together, all the articles about a subject, like Japan, are grouped together, and all the books with a certain word, like aviation, will be grouped together. I know that's complex, but basically databases sort different aspects of information sources and make them easier to find later. It should be like how a desk is organized. All the writing utensils are grouped together in one place, but they're separated by pen or pencil. All the papers are in one place, separated by a class or teacher, and everything is organized and has its place with similar things. Now that we have a better idea of what a database is and how it works, let's start by using it to explore topics through browsing. Let's start with Destiny's basic search. The basic search is really basic. You can only search by a couple of aspects like keyword, title, author, subject, and series. You can also click the Show More, which gives you a couple of limiters, but most of them are not very helpful, except maybe material type, where you can limit your results to a certain type of material like a book or a video. When you search by keyword, it indexes every single file for any instance of that word or phrase. So that word can be in the title, in the author's name, in the subject, the series name, anywhere in the file. However, if you search by subject, it only pulls pieces of information or books or articles that are about that subject. So whose main idea is the subject you're looking for. For example, if we searched the keyword World War, we would get everything about World War I, World War II, the book World War Z, about zombies, the book War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells, a lot of things that may not be relevant to what we're looking for. However, if we search by subject, we would only get things that are about that subject. They've been identified that their main idea is the subject. So let's start browsing. Let's go ahead and type in World War II, and we're going to search by subject. You can see we don't get a whole lot of results, but since we're browsing, we can click here at Browse Subjects, and it's going to pull up a lot more subjects. And now we can see what our problem was. We searched World War II. It says see World War, 1939 to 1945. That's the official subject. Now, this is something that only applies to Destiny. Destiny is made by librarians and is for the library. And in the library, we have these things called authority files, which are basically ways of saying that this is the subject name. It's official, okay? So like World War 1939 to 1945, atrocities, okay? Everything that could be considered atrocities, whether it's, I don't know, the Holocaust, gas chambers, war crimes, all of them are going to be under atrocities. It's a way that we can control subjects. That way there's only one That way we don't get this problem that we just had where we typed in World War II and we didn't get very many results. However, if you look here, you see that there are a lot of results in our library. If you keep clicking the right arrow, you'll see that there are a lot more subtopics. There's all kinds of campaigns, but be careful. Remember, we're only looking at United States, so we may not need Japan. And also, let's stay away from things that say fiction or maybe comic books, strips, etc., because we want only nonfiction. So if you browse through here, you can find maybe a subtopic that you're interested in. And this is fun to look through. But let's go back to the main search. And let's look at how to search in Academic Search Complete. Academic Search Complete is a database that indexes more academic things like articles and official books, not just what we have in our library either. In our basic option, our basic search, you can type in a word or phrase to find something, and then you have a couple of options here. We'll talk about these more in a minute. But let's just type in World War II. And we're going to search, and we get a lot of results, 65,000. So let's see if we can find some subtopics or special interests that make sense to us. So you can do a subject thesaurus term, which will give us some narrowing, but not a whole lot because it's just World War, history. Those are kind of vague. But if we go here to subject, this one says United States. Let's click on that one because that is also what we're looking for. Now let's see if there are some more subtopics that are interesting to us about the United States and World War II. History of American higher education from the founding to World War II. That's probably not going to be what we want. What about Kennedy? Probably not Donald Trump since it's 1946 and that's after this war was over. United States politics and government, but 2009 to 2017. That's not what we want. World War II campaigns. Economic aspects. So you can browse through here and find something that you might like. But let's go back to Destiny and let's look at something a little more powerful. Let's say you've already got your subtopic in mind. Let's use the power search. The power search will let us be a lot more specific in what we want to look at. Let's go through all of Destiny's advanced search techniques. First, you can type in whatever word you want. Let's say we want United States. And then you can change whether you want to search as keyword, title, author, subject, series, or note. And we discussed what those mean. And then you have the option of all these words, any of these words, or this exact phrase. This exact phrase is really helpful because you'll only get things that say exactly United States. And then you have these things called Boolean operators. They are and, or, and not. What these are ways to show relationships between different search words and terms and phrases. So let's look at this handy handout that I've made. Boolean operators were named after a mathematician who developed them to show relationships between different things. There are three: and, or, and not. And joins two search terms. So it will only give results that have both of the search terms that you're looking for. So if you search United States and World War II, you would only get the results that contain both of those terms. The Boolean operator OR is kind of the opposite. It expands our search, whereas AND really narrowed it. When you use OR, you're going to get every instance that there's a variation of those two terms. So OR is really good for synonyms, such as different spellings or different ways to say the same thing, like World War II with a numeral 2 or World War II with a Roman numeral 2. They mean the same thing, and we want all the ones that have either one. So if you use OR, it's going to get the ones that have the Arabic 2 and the Roman 2. It's going to get either one, but really it's getting both of them. So this one really expands your search. Not is kind of the opposite. Let's say we're looking for aviation, but we don't want birds. So we'll say aviation, not birds, and it will only give us articles or books that are about aviation that don't mention birds. So let's say we want to look at United States and World War. But remember, we don't want to use World War II because that's not the official term. We want to use World War, 1939, 1945. And we want them to be subjects. We're not going to narrow or limit our material type. We'll just keep it as it is, but you could if you only wanted a book to check out from the library. If your teacher had a specific time range that your resources had to be, you would use the publication year limiter. And you can use after the year because usually they want you to do only things that are recent. Now, call number is really important for the library. Call number tells us where to find it in the library. And in our library, we have separated the fiction and the nonfiction. So the nonfiction is going to be from call number 000 to 999. Okay? We don't have any sublocations or circulation types. And reading level, interest level, and reading programs don't really apply to research. However, we do want to include online resources. And here, if your teacher has said no Wikipedia, you could unclick it. And you can select which ones you want to search and which ones you want to exclude. So now let's search. And we didn't get very many. But if we search online resources, we get a couple more. To look at each of these, you would have to click on these hyperlinks, and it says that this one has 28 results for United States and World War II. Now that we have a better idea of how to search using Destiny, let's look at Academic Search Complete. And we looked at basic search, and we saw all of these search options. These are also in the advanced search options, so let's just go ahead and look there first. Here we see something that we kind of saw in Destiny. It allows us to use Boolean search terms and, or, and not, and it allows us to select a field where we'll find those search terms. All the text, the author, title, subject, and here's abstract. An abstract is basically the summary of a paper or an article or a book. So it might be helpful to search there, but be wary because if you say abstract, it will only look in the abstract. Here's some limiters. Let's talk about these. These are also similar to what we saw in Destiny, except for smart text searching. That's something that's special about Academic Search Complete, and you can click on the hint hyperlink to learn more. You can also apply related words. That's kind of like using the OR Boolean search term, but it also applies words that may not be very close at all. And you also have the ability to search the full text of the article and apply equivalent subjects. You can limit your search to full text or scholarly and peer-reviewed journals. Sometimes your teacher will say only peer-reviewed resources. And again, you have the option to limit to a certain publication date. You can change the publication type. That's kind of like our material type. You have book here, you have periodical, newspaper, all kinds of different sources. And then also you have document type. That's kind of like a publication type, but there's different documents within a publication. And then language. Usually you don't have to use this one very often, but if you wanted to, you could limit your search to just English. If you don't want to read a whole lot, you can limit the number of pages. And if you were wanting to view images or a PDF full text, you would click these. Also, you have some other picture limiters if that's what you're looking for. But let's go up here and do a search with World War II. And here it auto-populates some of these or Boolean search terms. So World War with an Arabic 2, World War with a Roman number 2 with 2 spelled out, WW2, or Second World War. Let's click on that one since it seems to encompass everything. And also, we're going to look at United States. And again, we see the same thing. United States or America or USA or US or United States of America. They all mean the same thing, and we want to get all of those results. Let's go ahead and search now. And we got 20,000, but it's better than what we had before. And again, once you apply a specific topic, your results will get much more narrower. Also, when you apply limiters, you'll get rid of things like conferences. So, use limiters and use a subtopic. Let's go back and I want to talk to you about a few more advanced search tips. These are wildcards. You may not use these as much for this project, but they're good to know. First, let's start with the question mark wildcard. It replaces a letter with a variable and gathers all results with all the variations. For example, if I were to search woman with a question mark, it will give me all the results that say woman and women. So that expands my search. It's also really useful if there's British spellings of the word, like defense and defense. You can use the asterisk to truncate, and that basically means that it cuts off the word and the database will fill in any endings for the root word. For example, if I type in aviate with an asterisk, it will return aviation, aviator, aviatrix, etc. You can also use the asterisk before a word to get all the different prefixes too. The final wildcard is quotation marks. This one's kind of redundant since both of our databases that we're looking at today already allow you to search by exact phrase. But quotation marks, when you put your search term in the quotation marks, it will look for that exact phrase in that exact order. So if you type in ammunitions factories, it will only return that exact phrase, not munitions factories, not ammunition factory, or factory of ammunitions or any other variations. It's only going to show you those. Some other tips that apply to all databases are proper capitalization does not matter. Databases don't look at whether the letters are capitalized or not. They're the same to it, but spelling does matter. So be careful and make sure you know exactly how to spell the word you're looking for. Also, databases have these things called stop words. Stop words are words that the database automatically ignores because they're really common, like a, an, of, the, for, those kind of words. The final tip is that Destiny is made for libraries. So be sure that you use the correct terms because libraries use authority files and controlled vocabulary when they assign subjects to works. So that means that there is a set list of terms that librarians can choose from, and they must select from those to get the correct term. That way you don't end up with World War II with a Roman numeral, World War II with an Arabic numeral, World War II spelled out. That way you don't get all of those. And lastly, if you need more help or want to learn more in Destiny, if you go to the catalog and you click on How Do I or the question mark, you get a whole lot of help. You can click on any of these hyperlinks to learn more, but the most helpful one is one that's called Library Search Frequently Asked Questions. This one will give you a lot of helpful and quick tips about how to search that we've discussed today. And of course, if you ever have any questions, you can always feel free to ask the librarian. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson today. And now, to close, I'd like for you to turn to a partner and discuss which subtopics you thought were the most interesting. And by the time that you get ready to leave, I'd like for you to write down which 2 subtopics you are thinking about using. Thanks for visiting the library today.